Hi, I'm Ken Mottet. You might know me from the Rockabilly Revival documentary. What we've got in this podcast is, well, I'll put it to you this way. In all my years being a Rockabilly guy, I've always been trying to figure out the why of Rockabilly, of the different aspects of the world that is Rockabilly. I'm always curious why things are the way they are, and maybe in the course of these little podcasts, you and I together will figure it out. What do you say? Okay, for myself personally, I have to put this whole concept in historic terms. You have to first of all understand that I got into the Rockabilly thing way back, not quite back in the 50s, but in the late 70s and the very early 1980s. That's when I first started greasing my hair back and listening to vinyl and driving around in an old car and all of that jazz. Well, for the longest of times, I thought to myself that a perfect world in which I would live would be a world in which you could walk into my house, walk into my apartment, and you could squint and you couldn't tell that it was not 1959. There would be nothing in the house after 1959. Well, there reaches a point where even the staunchest of Rockabilly revivalists has to kind of come to terms with reality. That first reality being, you know, if I really want to sit back and watch movies from the 40s and the 50s, I'm going to have to break down and buy a VCR, because having a 16mm projector sitting in my living room is going to get kind of expensive. Now, that's not to say that I don't know people that don't have the 16mm projector, but you've got to come to terms with reality. Now, the biggest point in coming to terms with that reality came just very recently in the 2000s. I'm not exactly what you'd call an early adapter. In fact, I am one of the latest adapters. The wife and I were just about the last kids on the block to get a computer. Now, of course, the obvious place that 9 out of 10 Rockabillys start with their computer is, of course, going straight to eBay, which, of course, is one of the great ironies of the vintage lifestyle, in that you're sitting around your house using your brand new modern $1,200 computer so that you can go out and buy Modern Mechanics magazines from the 1930s, or you know, that Batman comic book that you had back in 1966 when it came out. Or the single greatest irony of all is using the $1 million computer, which has the MP3 and the iPod and the iTunes capacity, so that you can go out and find Jerry Lewis singing "I'm Gonna Tell a Policeman" on Capitol on a 78. But as more than one person has said, one of the most important things about the computer is that the computer has served to tie the community together. There are 6 guys over here in Cleveland. There are 5 guys in Detroit. There are 10 guys in Chicago. There are a couple of guys in Cincinnati. Well, thanks to MySpace and emailing, it's all fairly obvious stuff, but it has made an opportunity to bring these small communities in different locations, to bring them all together into one much larger electronic family. And of course, the coolest part about having the computer in the house, as my wife said to me just a couple of weeks ago, "Are you going to watch everything on YouTube?" And I looked her square in the eye and I said, "Yes, dear, yes I am."